First of all, thanks again, Chris, so much for hosting us. This is just such an honor. We're so grateful to be a part of this symposium and speak alongside so many incredible people who are making waves in the surfing community and beyond. And yeah, it's just such an honor to be here and speak alongside everybody and alongside two of my favorite humans and be starting something and really trying to make a change.
Yeah, I just want to give a special thanks to all the listeners out there. I'm looking forward to
Shout out.
Q&A afterwards.
Excited to meet you guys in person at some point. Hopefully you enjoy our jungle. This is Maya's room.
We're renting it out for Zoom sessions.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're Un Mar de Colores. Mario and I are the co-founders, and Maya is one of our familia members, which you guys will learn a little bit more about. So we are a nonprofit organization that seeks to inspire inclusivity, diversity, and ocean stewardship for children of color and underserved youth. So my name is Kat Reynolds.
I'm Mario Ordonez.
And I'm Maya Harrison.
So what we're going to talk about today is the concept of community, about interconnectedness, interdependence, and sustainability, about the concept of relationship, and the importance of bringing intersectionality into the conversation around the surfing community and what that means for surf therapy. So why don't we start, Mario and Maya, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your experience with surfing and the greatest gift that that's given you and the biggest lesson that that's taught you.
Yeah, absolutely. So surfing for me came later in life. I grew up in a Mexican household in the suburbs of California. So I kind of grew up playing sports, so soccer and the traditional sports there, but I never really pictured myself as a surfer until later in life when a friend took me out, and surfing brought tranquility and community to me. So I feel like I kind of really became myself when I learned how to surf. So I wanted to pass that along, and it took a while for me to get comfortable enough to actually learn how to surf, much less to like feel confident in being able to teach surfing. So this year we started Mar de Colores, and it's just taken off, and I'm really excited to be like the big brother or the big sibling for like a younger BIPOC child or youth, and take them out and teach them how to surf.
That's awesome. I love that.
How about you, Maya?
The biggest gift that surfing has given me is definitely confidence. Growing up also in a Mexican American household, the majority of my family still resides in Mexico. And so I didn't have cousins and aunties and uncles to really look after me growing up. And then my family situation in the US was very broken and very scarring and whatnot. And I think that's really hard for a kid to gain confidence. I didn't have confidence in school. I didn't have confidence with friends. My parents weren't around because they were working all the time. And so surfing was the first thing. When I started competitively surfing when I was younger, I got like a tangible trophy for doing something. And I remember that feeling of, I'm actually good at something and I'm worth something. And it gave me a sense of self-worth that has allowed me to respect myself more, to choose healthy relationships, to pursue higher education, to believe in myself. And I think that's really important for a lot of kids in broken households.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that sense of place and that sense of home and sense of community is something that we really seek to translate into what we're doing at Un Mar de Colores. Not just for children with broken households, but underserved youth who might not have access to opportunities that the ocean and surfing can provide them. So removing those barriers of access, and again, for children of color, it's not just about Mexican American children, but I mean, obviously Black Lives Matter was a really powerful and important movement this year. And we were just, it was just such an inspiration to us to include that as a part of our conversation and how we want to integrate that into what we do and offer children a sense of place and a sense of community for something that, of course they have that at home, so many children do, but this is something that's really powerful, and that's where our concept of familia comes in. It's almost like a big brother and big sister program. So someone like Maya or Mario comes into the equation, and children have somebody to look up to who looks like them, who inspires them. So the familia is somebody, a familia member is somebody who we personally look up to in the surfing community, that we're inspired by something that obviously they're amazing surfers first and foremost.
She's way better. I've never gotten a trophy for surfing.
Maya's a shredder, check her out. Yeah, so everybody's an amazing surfer, of course, but they're also change makers, wave makers, if you will, and really making an impact in the community, not just in sustainability, but in social activism. And we're really hoping to translate these lessons and teach the children who come to us what that looks like, what it feels like to have a home in the ocean with each other. So it's that sense of connection, not only with our community and our ocean, but connection with ourselves, and which gives us that sense of confidence and self-inquiry to look deeper into ourselves, and that mental health, which I'm sure you guys have heard on from a lot of the other speakers, the concept of the blue mind and how healthy it is to spend time in the ocean. But yeah, something that you mentioned too is that auntie and uncle culture. So why don't you speak a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very common in Hawaii. I used to live there for a little bit, and auntie and uncle culture is, no matter who you are, if you're older than a child, you're their auntie or uncle. That's what you call them. It's a respect thing. And as an auntie, you have this responsibility to look out for that child. And it's a very communal village mentality of everyone looking after each other, everyone making sure that everyone is okay. And I was missing that growing up, but I had it in my Mexican family back home. Right. So in Mexico, it's very common. It's just called familia culture. It's normal. Tío and tía culture. Yeah. It's very normal. And I think I was really missing that here in California. And then when I moved to Hawaii, I was like, wow, this blows my mind how similar these two cultures are. And they're so, distance-wise, they're so far apart. And as Kat was saying, that mentorship, that hermano, hermana, big brother, big sister, tío, it's really important to have mentors and people you look up to and trust, and that you feel that you have that support too.
Yeah, it's that support system. It's knowing that you have somebody to lean on, no matter when you paddle out in the ocean, somebody that you recognize, and especially somebody that looks like you, checks in on you and is like, hey, how's school going? Yeah. How have you been? Like, how's your family doing? That's that's really important for children, especially in this age of disconnect where we spend so much time on our phone or whatever that looks like. I mean, it's really amazing to see what the youth culture of Gen Z looks like right now. And we're really hoping to shift that culture by shifting behavior. And in order to do that, we have to give children the opportunity to spend time in the ocean to experience what real connection feels like. And I think that sense of connection really reminds us what it means to be human, like really just taking a step back. And you don't know that until you are in the ocean. And that it's a sense of remembrance. It's not something that can be taught. It can only be felt. And Absolutely. So we're hoping to create that just through feeling, because obviously you can't say this to a child. You can't say like, we're going to teach you this, 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 and this, and it's so important. No, often when you tell a child, you'll figure it out eventually. You'll see one day. Right. And it's only that you learn that through experience. Yeah. And so it's learned through experience, and it's never something that can be articulated with words. And it's just passive absorption, you know, and you kind of just hope to have these ripple effects of positivity into their life, where like maybe one day one of our participants, our youth, will be sitting in this same very seat, you know, speaking at the International Surf Therapy Symposium of like 2050 or something like that, you know? Absolutely. That's the goal. Yeah. I mean, again, somebody that you can look up to and insight into somebody that you respect and admire. Again, the familia is mentorship. So if we have somebody that comes to the table like Maya, who is incredibly inspired by sustainability and agriculture and food sovereignty, and is changing the world in that way, somebody might look up to Maya and be like, wow, that's something I really want to get into, and it's not something I've ever been exposed to. So it's not just surf, but what can you experience beyond the surf community? And and that's the community, you know. That's exactly the community. Sense of family. I think sorry, Kat, I think for kids, the perception of what they want to create is only as big as what they can imagine, right? And so I mean, at least for me, growing up in a broken home, I didn't think I was deserving more than to have the career
of my mom, who was a massage therapist, for example, right?
Right.
And having mentors that were, you know, I remember having a next door neighbor that was a doctor, and my mind expanded, like, wait a minute, I can do this?
Exactly.
I can do this? Like, wait a minute, and being there for a child and being like, yeah, this is what I do for work and I'm happy with my job. Or having proper mentorships, like happy marriages for that was something that I couldn't even conceptualize, because all of my friends' families were divorced, or, you know, I didn't know anyone that was in a current happy marriage, any parents. And I think when I met a friend that had a very healthy, you know, healthy parents, I was like, wow, I deserve that. That's something that I can create for myself.
Mhm.
And that was a huge step towards what self-confidence and what I deserve. And I think that a lot of kids deserve that too. They deserve to look at something and be like, wait, that can happen? Then why can't that happen to me?
Mhm.
Exactly.
Exactly. It just expands that concept of possibility. It expands your frame of reference for what is possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that kind of like segues into our concept of relationship. Again, relationship with the self and understanding what that looks like, relationship with community, and relationship with the environment. So that sense of interconnectedness and interdependence with the environment. Surfing teaches us that we're a part of the ecosystem. It reminds us that the ocean doesn't belong to us, that we belong to the ocean. And this is something that we intersect into our conversation in Un Mar de Colores. It's not just about bridging the socioeconomic gap, but introducing the concept of relationship and how important it is to look out for not just each other, but to protect where we play and to take no more than we need. And so it's the same concept of like shopping at a grocery store. You don't understand where your food comes from unless you go to a farm and recognize, like this is, I'm getting meat from a cow or whatever. And same thing with fishing. So it's, or like my trash flows into the ocean. So it's a simple concept that we try to integrate. And like right now for No Plastic November, we worked with all of our children to do a No Plastic November challenge. And that was one of the things that they mentioned the most when we asked them what's something that we can do to protect where they play. And they're like, use less plastic. And it's obviously something really simple. We're working with kids from like 5 to 12 years old right now on average. And so anything you want to add on that with sustainability?
Yeah. The first Un Mar de Colores event that I went to, I remember, you know, Kat and Mario were rounding up the circle, like a stretching circle to make sure no one sprains anything when we were surfing.
It was more for us.
It was more for
older.
the surf instructors than the kids.
The kids don't have to.
But I remember, you know, you saying, Kat, like, what's the number one way we can honor the ocean today? And even to get the kids to be like, every single kid said, picking up trash when we see it, like picking up plastic when we see it.
Yeah.
And I think that connection is so powerful, because now I bet whenever they go to the beach now, they want to pick up trash on their way out. And like, I saw it, like I saw Lizzie, the girl I was pushing into waves, and on her way back, she was like, oh, like wrapper. And she picked up a wrapper.
And she's like stoked to do it.
She had joy to do it because she associates that with positivity and the warmth of Un Mar de Colores and the responsibility and sea stewardship that we as surfers have the privilege of doing.
And the responsibility.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is for kids, the concept of responsibility isn't all that exciting.
Yeah.
So we try to inspire purpose through passion.
Yeah.
So how do you inspire a child? Well, by igniting joy and passion and putting a smile on their face and recognizing, oh, like this is something that I really want and I'm passionate about. I love the ocean. I want to protect the ocean. I love my friends. I want to see my friends succeed. How do we lift each other up? Yeah. So anything else you want to add on that? Yeah, so I think we're going to kind of segue into the concept of intersectionality and talk about how the conversation around, as we're talking about sustainability, the conversation around climate justice and climate change isn't holistic unless we approach it from an intersectional lens. So we can't, it's the same concept about regenerative agriculture, which is a highlight right now. It's moving from organic to regenerative agriculture. Maya and I are really interested in regenerative agriculture, so you'll hear me reference this a lot, but it's not a holistic conversation unless we bring people of color into the conversation. And the reality is that surfing, I mean, if you look at surfing history, it's indigenous. There isn't anything new or original about bringing people of color into this conversation. They've been here long before us white folks have been. And it's our opportunity to honor that and respect that. And it's indigenous, and indigenous peoples understood what it meant to be in relationship with the ocean, in relationship with one another. They honored the fact that we belonged to the ocean, and we have that responsibility to protect it, that it's a balance of give and take. And yeah, I think that's just like an energy that we're really trying to inspire for our children that are participating in our program.
Yeah.
Expand on any of that?
Intersectionality, I think, is everything. We can't heal our planet until we take care of our people that live on that planet. And I think listening to indigenous voices and BIPOC communities will be the only way forward with sustainability. And with surfing specifically, I think it's really important to honor, our ancestors and where it came from. I think too often we've gotten so used to the quintessential, person that surfs, the surfer dude with the shaka, with the bleach blonde hair and the blue eyes. And like you were saying, Mario, you never felt that surfing was for you because you didn't feel like that. You felt you were in that mold until, Ryder, one of your best friends, took you out.
Exactly.
I remember having an experience in Hawaii where I was so used to, when I moved home, I was so used to being in Hawaii and so celebrated for my skin color there. There, it's very, Native Hawaiian culture, specifically in the water with localism. It's you're in if you're, if you're a person of color. They're like, I see you, I recognize you, go on this wave, And then when I came back home to here, I was surfing Swami's, which is a home break here in Encinitas, and I remember just looking around and feeling outcasted and feeling insecure and feeling that I didn't belong.
Right.
And it was this really big shift in perception and culture. And I think representation really matters, and intersectionality with surfing really matters. Do you want to touch on anything, Mario, on that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of like one of our biggest hashtags, representation matters. And that's kind of, if you've gotten a chance to look at our webpage or on Instagram, we spend a lot of time focusing on our media. So we highlight BIPOC surfers, and we kind of we open up the lens to an already like diverse and rich, multicultural existing surf field, so that kids can see that and be inspired. But it's something that we really, really enjoy doing in Mar de Colores.
Yeah, again, I think that, unfortunately, surfing has been colonized as long as it's been a part of modern history. And we're hoping to change that. We're hoping to take a little rewind and take a lesson from nature again, and recognize that without biodiversity, we can't survive. So we're trying to incorporate that concept of diversity to create and cultivate an inclusive and diverse future. And it's not about excluding white people, but it is an opportunity to lift people of color up.
Absolutely. And
change what it feels like to be in the water. So a person of color or a BIPOC youth who paddles out doesn't feel intimidated. They have that sense of home. Again, that sense of place, that sense of community. And even if it is still predominantly white, again, starting with local communities and making this a movement and providing other communities the same platform and a replicable model where they start to recognize people regardless and start to feel a sense of home.
Right. Naturally, there's always going to be that bit of resistance to anyone coming into a lineup. Like, you kind of have to know how to, in surf, it's a sport. So you're always going to have to know.
And it's a safety thing.
It's a safety thing. You're always going to have to know how to surf and how to navigate the crowd and everything like that. But we don't want race to be one of the reasons why someone is looking down at someone down the lineup or anything.
But that's also where the sense of surf therapy specifically comes in, is nurturing that sense of self-confidence and all the important lessons that surfing teaches you. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've learned some of the most powerful lessons in life And I think there's some pretty cute books out there, like Mop Goes for a
Yeah.
Surf, right? And how to work through your emotions and fears and like what it feels like to be held down underwater. I mean, a lot of children that come to us and even families, like we work with a couple sister organizations like Groundswell Community Project that works with women to get some of the mothers into the water as well. But some of the kids that come to us have never even really swam before. So we have enough volunteers that we have one-on-one time with each of these children, and we just, some of them only get up to their waist the first time, and the next time they're like, I went under, and it's like the most exciting thing in the world.
Absolutely.
And it's one of those lessons like, oh my gosh, again, expanding that frame of reference of what is possible. Like I never thought I would experience that. And some of these kids are living no more than 5 minutes away from the beach.
Yeah, and that was the biggest reason for me to start with what would come up with the idea of Mar de Colores, is living 5 minutes away from the ocean and then seeing kind of this working class Latino population here in Encinitas, but never seeing them at the beach or never seeing the kids in the lineup. And I was kind of just thinking to myself, like, what is the disconnect? So that kind of got this ball rolling, and just really thankful for all the support that I've gotten so far.
Absolutely. And to share that privilege and that joy and that free therapy that we get from being in the ocean.
Exactly.
And that segues into the intersectionality between surf therapy and environmental activism and environmental stewardship, because we can't heal the planet until we heal ourselves, right? We can't even fathom sustainability when we're lying in bed from depression. That's what I've experienced.
So true.
And we need to take care of ourselves in order to take care of others in the world. And I think the first step is allowing that outlet for kids, especially, underserved youth, because that is our future. And sorry, as you were saying,
not just an outlet, but an opportunity to receive. I think that's just such an important, like we focus on underserved youth specifically as well, an opportunity to receive gifts from the ocean, especially if you come from a broken home.
Absolutely.
Or whatever that looks like, where you haven't experienced true mental health and awareness. Like you don't know what you don't know until you step into the ocean again. It's that sense of feeling. It's that it's not something that can be explained, but only felt. And so it's through that and our mentorship program that allows children to truly have a platform. So again, we, instead of going wide, like a lot of organizations do, we go deep. So instead of working and saying, oh, we touched 100 kids this month or this year or whatever that looks like, and that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just what we want to focus on is going really, really deep with a small group of kids, like maybe 16 kids a year, kids who are really interested and want to dive deep with us.
Exactly, and these are neighborhood kids. Like we're pretty much focused on northern San Diego, and I like that. I enjoy like going to the grocery store and potentially seeing one of the kids, or like we partnered up with this local like organic produce store called Just Peachy, and in asking for donations, like the workers are actually, it's a Mexican family, and they actually signed up their daughter. So we took their daughter to the lineup, and it's that kind of community. And I want Mar de Colores just to be that like that community for everyone. Exactly.
And that safe container, and I think that's really powerful, because kids will remember a day at, like, oh yeah, that one day we went and picked up trash and we got donuts. I remember, but what they will really remember is the deep relationships that they build with an hermano or hermana, brother or sister program.
Absolutely. Exactly.
And what they will remember is the progress it took for them from, again, being afraid to put their feet in the water, to going underneath the water, to catching their first wave. What an experience that, we can give kids and that kids can receive through this program.
And how cool would it be to one day, like, we're old, right? We're like the old people at Swami's, and then you see one of the kids that you like mentored through Mar de Colores is like out there and like surfing and shredding.
Absolutely.
As like a 18-year-old or a 15-year-old, whatever that might be.
So that's one of our goals too, is to really, again, provide the opportunity and tools and resources and education to provide a platform for success, whatever that like wanting to get into competition for surfing, but they don't have the resources to buy a board, or they don't have the money to get to a competition, or they don't have enough money for lessons. Like that's what we're trying to come in and step in for, is provide those resources and access, remove those barriers of access. And this is something that me personally, like I'll go into my personal background a little bit as somebody who is a documentary photographer and photojournalism. Are we paused?
No.
I was speaking to another journalist recently who talked about an experience of traveling and going to a community, specifically a surfing community, and they did a short documentary on a kid about their experience of as a refugee moving out and what that looked like for them.
There we go.
Okay, we're live. Sorry, we were frozen. We weren't sure if we were
frozen on our screen. Thank you.
I don't know what you guys did or didn't miss, so I'll just repeat myself for a second. I was talking about an experience I had when speaking with a fellow photojournalist friend of mine who did a story documentary on a child who was a refugee who escaped to a bordering country. And they did a story on them and how surfing changed his life. But they only did this documentary and filmed him for a matter of days. And it was like the highlight of this child's life. But then they left and that was it. And the documentary didn't do a whole lot necessarily. And it was still a really amazing and powerful story, but that was a real inspiration for me and us. And another aspect of what COVID brought into this conversation this year, because we launched our organization this year, it really inspired us because we could only have 10 kids on the beach. And we're like, do we really want to have 20, 25 kids, 30 kids? No, this is really powerful to have a deep connection. Like, let's keep working with these specific kids. And that's how our program developed. And that's how we decided we were going to do 3, 6, and 9 month programs and go really, really deep, and obviously go longer depending on the involvement or interest of the kid. But it's a lot like, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Waldorf education program, but a lot of how that curriculum operates is allowing the child to direct what their what their education looks like. And it's not to say that you don't teach them the important things that they need to be taught. Of course, those lessons get integrated into the overall curriculum, but it's allowing them to, again, have their passion drive them so they find their purpose. So it's that combination of really diving deep with a small group of kids and letting their passion drive them so they can find that inspiration to allow them to find that success and find this passion for protecting the planet, sense of community, all of these things. That sense of relationship is what drives all of that. So
absolutely,
that's what we're trying to create.
And it's so incredible seeing which surf instructors gravitate to which kids gravitate to which surf instructors, and how every time it's like the kid still wants to be with that same surf instructor. And one of our familia members, Kai, he's an incredible MVP. He's incredible, and I just remember seeing him just bonding with these kids, and they love him. And he just was like building sandcastles the first time and then building sandcastles the second time. And the kids just really, really appreciate that sustainable relationship that's going to be, maintained after, after the event's done. Right?
However long. So those same volunteers that come to our surf therapy programs are also working one-on-one in our longer term programs, based on the child, based on that child's choice. So whatever they gravitate towards naturally. I mean, Myra, who worked with Kai, every time asks, where's Kai? And I mean, we get letters and thank yous and Kai, you changed my life. Thank you so much.
She gave him a little puka shell necklace. It was really cute.
That's
and
really
it's
sweet.
that sense of familia that's what really makes you feel like home and makes you feel safe and gives you, like you said, that container to explore and expand. And I mean, a lot of kids, like their first time, our first ever outing, were very shy. They didn't talk to one another. They didn't really talk, period. I mean, obviously kids warm up. But the second time around, everybody knew everybody. And it was just so much more warm and welcoming and exciting, and just felt like home, even for us. Like, it was really cool to be like, oh, it's our familia. Like, we're so excited to see you you guys all again.
Yeah.
And all the parents, and I think getting to know the parents too. And, I gave like Lizzie's mom my number and was like, please, whenever she wants to go surfing, absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really powerful too, to form those relationships with the parents as well. Just,
Absolutely. And same
Yeah.
thing, there were some parents that came to us crying. I mean, it was just the most beautiful thing. And of course I cried because I'm an emotional person. But one of the moms came to me. She was a single mom. I'll keep myself together for this one. But she came to me and she's like, I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids, and there's absolutely no way that I would have ever been able to do this for my children. Thank you so much. I just made friends with 2 of the other moms. We're going to organize to take our kids to the beach now. We never go to the beach. Like, this is not something I'd be able to do now. They can spend this time. And that's why it's also really important for us to bring family into the equation, because we want parents to see the value in this. And a lot of the times in any family who's not familiar with the ocean, just like traveling to another country, it's stigmatized. It's stigmatized because it feels unsafe. Because you can't swim, there's sharks. Who knows what the fear is? But you see your kids' joy on their face, and you see that transformation of what, like, you see what's possible in your child and what can come of that. And you're like, oh my gosh, this changed me. And it changes, like, it changes what is important to the family as well.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I remember I guess I was going to elaborate on I remember what my dad said when I came home, because I'd fallen off my surfboard. My surfboard had given me, like, cut the fin and cut me open. So I had to go to the ER. I had like 17 stitches. This is me learning how to surf at Malibu. And I came home and he's like, he saw the stitches and he's like, why are you doing something you don't know how to do? And that's kind of that like mentality that you were talking about how it's stigmatized, right, to some families, because they're afraid, and they're like, hey, why are you stepping into the unknown? Now they're upset because you hurt yourself. They're like trying to be protective,
and of course you want to protect your children.
Exactly. And it's just kind of like, if the parents are there, then it's like, hey, no, it's okay, like, we're like, this is what it looks like, this is safe, and it's gonna branch out from there.
Yeah, it's overwhelmingly safe. And not only that, but you see that there's more value in your child experiencing the world and learning life lessons and healing themselves and expanding within themselves and beyond themselves in the ocean, because the ocean is this vast container that doesn't limit you whatsoever. Limitless possibilities. And again, like, one of our motto specifically is one ocean touches all shores. And again, like, this is kind of changing subjects a little bit now, but we believe that as surfers, surfing is a sport that is unlike any other in the entire world. The surfing community is completely interconnected. And I mean, as a surf photographer, I've traveled around the world and everybody knows everybody. Yeah. And we have, again, that power and that responsibility to change the world, because we have that sense of interconnection. It's such a powerful community.
Yeah, we're unified.
We're unified. And so that it's that sense of connection that we really want to drive home. And so our familia, like, when we expand, this is our first year, we plan to have chapters and provide people a replicable model that they can take into their local communities and do this. And it's not that difficult. We just want to make sure that, of course, like, everybody's safe and happy and can continue to have the same experience. And no matter where they go, when we provide these children these opportunities, say they do want to do surf competitions, they now have familia wherever they go. So that's what we're really hoping to create within Maya Harrison.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're right on time.
Looks like we got
I think we have
message.
our cute. There we go. Let's see what our chat looks like.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Wow. Can I just say your energy of good is contagious.
That's what we're going for.
I had one quick conversation with you epic human beings, and I had written in social media that there's a spirit of hope for the future on planet Earth with Mario and Maya and Kat in the conversations. And I got that one right. I don't always get it right. I got that one right. Wow. Thank you for this powerful conversation. So everybody's getting a little tired of me, but because you guys have this super awesome, cool setup, I'm the one who's going to ask the questions. Everyone's like, Chris, again. I really love that you discussed modeling for our youth. I said this earlier. I wish so badly I'd had a Hawaiian Filipino woman to look up to, because when we see ourselves on TV and in the movies and any media, magazines, or in the ocean, we believe we deserve to be there. And it's not until we sort of see ourselves there. So I really love that you brought that piece into it. But frankly, all of this is incredible because, as I mentioned earlier, you get us thinking outside the box, thinking about things that maybe we weren't thinking about earlier or intentionally. And that's so important. So I'm going to ask one of the questions here. What is one activity? Great job to all of you. Honestly, I wish I was there. Can we hug? I'm trying to hug you. It was awesome. I love your familia. Or Ohana. I'm sorry, I'm Hawaiian, so
yeah, exactly.
What is one activity surf therapy programs could incorporate into sessions to leave participants with a lasting sense of responsibility to care for Mother Ocean? Now, you guys sort of touched on this with beach cleanups and what have you, but what's something that you can leave with them, where maybe it's contagious and they're telling their friends and they're telling their friends, not just happening on the beach?
That's a good question. I think, like I said, every time we gather together with our surf therapy program, we begin and end acknowledging the ocean. So again, what's one way that we can honor the ocean today before we step into the water, and say a moment of gratitude? Again, it's that concept of relationship and how we say thank you. The concept of giving more than we take, kind of really establishing that. Yeah, absolutely. So again, in order to receive gifts, we have to give back. So I think that's something that we're really trying to integrate and dive into. And we're also, this isn't exactly at the beach, but part of our program is we're going to be doing field trips, educational and environmental field trips with the kids. Mm-hmm. So that could be like taking them to a farm, or we're going to be taking them to Scripps Institute, for example, to learn about coral and animals and what that means to protect and really like. Yeah, and so like we also take little goggles to the beach and we like inspire kids to like look underwater and be like, look, there's a whole world under here. Like it's not just like this surface level that you're looking at. We're not just paddling on top. Like what's underneath? Like let's explore. And I think it's instilling a sense of curiosity. I think curiosity is the solution to almost everything. Seeking to be interested versus interesting is something that always stuck with me. So really inspiring kids to be really curious about what they're doing, not just like lackadaisical, giving them a little bit more of a sense of responsibility through curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any more thoughts?
I think really teaching them about the interconnectedness of the ecosystem is so important, of how the algae releases a certain, the algae serves to feed this fish and this fish feeds to serve oxygen. Just I can't go into it right now, but no, but the whole interconnectedness of the ecology of the ocean and the land in the ocean, how there's that exchange, and I think to really bring in what is our part of the ecology, and so to teach kids like these systems all feed into each other and we are part of this. We are meant to be part of this ecology in earth and land stewardship. And what are we doing to give back to that ecology, right? Absolutely. And I think what blew my mind growing up as a kid is just really seeing how incredible and awesome nature is. As dorky as that sounds, it's and seeing how I live so far removed from that ecology.
Right.
So whether that's, helping your mom at the grocery store pick certain sunscreen that's reef safe, right? Exactly. To educate them with the reefs and the ecologies of the reefs. Teaching them, okay, I'm not going to get the house cleaner that has all of these things because that's going to eventually run off into our oceans. And I think really showing them the responsibility through the interconnectedness of our ecology. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but something that's actionable, and I'm happy to let anybody steal this concept. actionable for people who are doing surf therapy programs specifically and aren't leaving the beach or don't know how to articulate and communicate what it looks like to be sustainable, or like, I mean, it takes time to learn about what it looks like to buy the right sunscreen, or like, and again, we're trying to offer these tools to people to, again, remove those barriers of access. But something that I do with the kids is, again, with you're dealing with kids. So how do you communicate to them these big, broad concepts and keep them engaged? That's through purposeful play, right? So something that I often do is I like literally like draw a big circle in the sand, and I'm like, okay, everybody go on a wild goose chase or like a treasure hunt and find something really cool. I want to find some seaweed. I want to find something dead. I want to find a shell. I want to find a crab. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna all place this in the circle, and this is the ecosystem of the world. And so let's like do a big timeline, except it's not a linear timeline, it's cyclical. So it's teaching that concept of relationship, that everything's cyclical. So the seaweed gives us oxygen, it feeds this, or it feeds, and something feeds the fish, something feeds.
We can't get into all that right now.
Something feeds the crab, and then it feeds us, and then what do we give back to the ocean? So it's just purposeful play, I think, is the answer to that.
Oh, purposeful play. Can we have another day with you three, please? I say this often, there's an innate response to something that we're benefiting from to want to protect it. And I am an optimist forever that we'll protect what we love. So when our young participants come in and benefit from the ocean, they're intrinsically is this innate response to want to instantly protect it. And how can you not when you have dolphins and sharks and stingrays and fish and all of the beautiful marine life and the birds flying over? So I love that. You actually kind of answered the second question. So I'm going to ask you one more because we've got about 5 minutes and it's a long one. But because the way the three of you live your life, because this isn't about 2020 and this isn't about Black Lives Matter movement and suddenly the three of you woke up. It was your life. It was how you lived it, how you conducted yourself. So this last question, kind of interesting. And it's a good question, Matt, who asked it. How do we balance the carbon intensity of surf travel, toxicity of boards, and our dependence and love for the ocean environment? So what's the balance between individual choices and working as a sector, surf therapy sector, to influence policy and business?
That's a really interesting question. Do you want to start first, or?
I think one thing that I intentionally do is travel with a purpose of going there. If you're going to a land, how are you giving back to that land in some way, shape, or form? How are you giving back to the people there? You're not just going to go there to exploit. For example, we just got back from Colombia. I was working with a slow fashion brand over there to document the whole process of their sustainable textiles. And we did a whole food drive for the artisans. So we bought over 25 cases of bulk food of rice, olive oil, macaroni, literally all of the kitchen essentials. And we gave it to all of the artisans in some way to give back. And I mean, I'm a student of sustainability at University of California, San Diego. And one of my professors, we were tracking our carbon emissions. Basically, we took a test to see how on a scale from how bad we are, basically, and how'd we do? And he was like, the easiest thing is to purchase carbon credits and to go on and donate to organizations that are really making a difference, whether that's regenerative agriculture businesses, BIPOC communities, indigenous communities that are, earth stewarding, land stewarding, and to really show that, and that's how I felt better from traveling so much, for my job. It's for example, a growing culture. Like every month I will donate like $25 to a growing culture because I know that they are making a difference and they're making a difference with my carbon credits that I'm giving them.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's, for me, it's kind of simple. Like the surfboard was mentioned, right? And surfing, like we love the ocean, but surfboards are pretty toxic, like the whole process of making on it. So in that sense, something I personally do is I know a lot of you guys are going to disagree, but I'm a one board kind of guy. I have a log and that's it. I know everyone's got a quiver, but just small things like that, like but not buying as much, I guess.
I think it's really interesting because funnily enough, our topic that we were originally going to discuss was travel with purpose and intention, because, well, I mean, first of all, I'm a travel and surf photographer. Is something that I've battled with for a long time, and I stepped away from it, and that was one of the reasons was I felt like it was exploitative. And I mean, I always made a point, at least when I had time, but always on my personal travels, to make sure that I was giving back to the community. But I even then struggled with that because I was still leaving and didn't feel like it was enough. But that's just me. But I think that if we go with the intention, like there's a small surf town that all of us love and adore in mainland Mexico, and it's honestly probably one of the only places I fly to anymore. But we established a local recycling program, which was not an easy task, because in local Mexican communities in mainland Mexico specifically that are rural, recycling is completely like beyond their frame of reference there. And that's not to say for everywhere in Mexico. It's slowly and surely transitioning. Again, as surfers, we have the power to change coastal communities, and not to say that we come in and step in, at least as me, something again as a white savior, to come in with intention and work with the local communities to educate children who can inspire their families to what it means to recycle, and that it's possible. Because I mean, even speaking with local Mexican restaurants here, and styrofoam and plastic was banned, they're like, how are we gonna afford boxes? Like it just like, and it is possible. And then you can have the opportunity to educate on what some alternatives might look like. And as far as surfboards, I mean, there are alternatives that are coming to the table. I mean, agave is one of them, which is not accessible yet, but there are some BIPOC surfers specifically who are working on alternative materials, and how, again, so
earth technologies.
And so our Representation Matters initiative is part of highlighting artists like Shapers who are changing the industry, who are really trying to drive that. So I mean, it's progress, not perfection. And the reality is that we live in a culture, especially in Instagram world, where it's like, look at me, I'm traveling here, and that gets you a sense of following and a sense of coolness. Well, how do we change that to a culture of, oh, I'm going somewhere with intention. I'm only going somewhere if I have an intention or an awareness, at least, that I am respecting and going to be a part of the ecosystem, that I'm not just going to exploit the local culture, but I'm going to give back in some way, or at least like take time to live intentionally
and
around
also,
that.
I think, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I just think the most important thing rather than just giving back is to listen. And I think that's what people want when you travel anywhere, is people don't, before we just automatically, and I catch myself doing this all the time, to just give back, here, take all these resources, let me educate, but it's not even about that. It's about listening. What do they need? What do they want from the tourist that's coming there? Do they not want you to go? Then don't go there.
Right. Sometimes it is just,
if you're not supposed to go to Hawaii right now
like
because there's limited resources, do not go to Hawaii.
Right.
That's how you can travel sustainably. Listening to the communities that you are considering traveling to.
Yes, so I think there was one more topic on that, sector to influence policy and business. I think, I mean, just like anything else in the world, I think there's a power at approaching things from two ends, not just grassroots, but also from the top and creating policy. But I think that a lot of policy is driven by grassroots movements and cultural change. And in order to, again, I repeat this endlessly, but in order to create cultural change, you have to create in order to create systems change, you have to create cultural change. In order to do that, you have to create behavior change. So how do we shift behavior within local communities and inspire that from individual to individual? And luckily, social media, for example, is a really powerful driving force in shifting behavior and inspiring people, because it's, again, shifting the frame of reference for what is how the world that we live in and what's possible. So if we want to live more sustainably and more consciously and like be more conscious about our waste and consumption and carbon footprint, like the more that we have visibility into people who are paying attention to this, because this is the most crucial time ever. It is the only time that we have to make these changes. Let's inspire more people and really start having these conversations. Like it is our responsibility again as surfers to speak up and protect where we play. And I think that's how we make policy change, and write your local representatives and take that stand. Like we all have to make that, we all have to take that step to do that. Hopefully that answers the question.
No, that was, I mean, move with intention, what we buy, how we travel, what we eat. It's such a good life lesson. I think Yvonne Chenard taught me in Let My People Go Surfing. He says, we are trying to create owners, not consumers, because as an owner, you take care of it. If your house window cracks, you don't buy a new house. Or if your tires on your car breaks, you don't buy a new car. But why is it our t-shirt or sweatshirt or jacket, it gets a little rip and you throw it in the garbage? So all of everything you just said, gosh, unbelievable. I want to say thank you on behalf of the International Surf Therapy Organization and the board and all the attendees. We love you. Keep doing what you're doing. And we're going to come all volunteer with your program just so we can have more time with you.
We'll have to have an international surf therapy party in San Diego with everybody.
Absolutely. We were bummed we're not together this year, but we're hoping in 2021. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for blessing us with all of your wisdom. And we hope to see you soon. We love you. It was such an incredible lesson.
Thanks for everyone who tuned in. If you guys have any questions offline, you know where to find us on
feel free to reach out to us on the WOVA app or our Instagram, Un Mar de Colores, our website.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, we're the beneficiaries. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.